Central Intelligence Agency report concerning unidentified flying objects, document listed as R0-0-5-6-0R0-0-0. The National Investigations Committee on Aerial Phenomena, the 1964 NICAP report released under the Freedom of Information Act. This report represents one of the most authoritative investigations of unidentified flying objects ever carried out in the United States, with hundreds of its pages devoted to and complex detailed and forensic examination by top academics, military officials, scientists and professionals from all walks of life. The report covers every known aspect of UFOs. Indeed, the 1964 NICAP report is so comprehensive in its analysis of UFOs it's no surprise to find it locked in the secret vaults of U.S. intelligence services for over 30 years. Section 2 covers the subject of the apparent intelligent control of unidentified flying objects. Section 2. Are UFOs intelligently controlled? NICAP UFO report. Dated May 13, 1952, location National City, California, time approximately 8:55 p.m., witnesses Donald R. Carr, aeronautical engineer, and at least 6 others in separate locations, including a teacher who is a former Navy pilot. NICAP excerpt from Mr. Donald Carr's report. I saw what I thought was the trail of a large meteor appear approximately 5 degrees of arc east of a line between the 2 pointers and almost exactly in the center of the bowl of the Big Dipper. See diagram. The trail was of a red color and appeared to be descending downwards at about an angle of 20 degrees to my line of sight and in a southwesterly direction. Only the red trail was visible for about 2 seconds and then a small white dot became visible, from which the trail was emanating. The speed appeared to be meteoric, and so I still thought the object was what is commonly called a shooting star. After 2 or 3 seconds the white-colored object had an apparent diameter of 1/64th to 1/32nd of an inch. The trail faded and the object still continued descending downwards. The speed appeared to be decreasing and I noted a certain erratic quality to the flight of the object, which now appeared to have a self-luminous or fluorescent quality to it. For about 10 more seconds, the object was following a gradual curved path in process of leveling off. Then, the object was flying level on a course almost due west. I estimated the altitude of the object at this point of its trajectory to be from 10,000 to 15,000 feet. Its speed at this time appeared to be within the range of known aircraft speeds. To the naked eye the object appeared as a sphere of about 1/16th of an inch diameter. Through the 6-power telescope the object presented a larger disk, but the brightness did not appreciably increase. In level flight the object seemed to dart from side to side in an oscillating motion without any diminishing of its forward speed. After traveling a course almost due west for approximately 1 mile, the object turned toward the northwest and appeared to circle over San Diego Bay and Point Loma and disappeared, traveling north at a constant altitude and speed. During the entire time the object was visible there was absolutely no apparent sound created by it. Despite its terrific speed in its dive there was no shockwave or noise from its power source. At about 9:25 p.m., Mr. Carr observed what appeared to be the same object returning from the north and circling west. It passed over downtown San Diego, where bright ground lights seemed to reflect off a metal hull. It is my conviction, Mr. Carr stated in his report, that since this object followed an apparently controlled course it was not moving under the influence of gravity, and must have been guided by an intelligence unknown to us. Its dive from an extreme altitude at possibly meteoric speed, its deceleration, leveling off, and circle of the city twice indicate that it arrived from interplanetary space and was under intelligent control, and former Navy pilot Harold Strawn, with a group of students in La Mesa, also witnessed this meteoric appearance, and the leveling off and circling. Section 2 Intelligent Control continued. A multiple visual and multiple radar sighting, similarly suggesting controlled flight. occurred August 12, 1953, near Rapid City, South Dakota. The UFO was first spotted hovering in the eastern sky by the Ground Observer Corps. It moved in over the city, then back to its original position. Then ground radar began tracking the UFO, and an F-84 was scrambled and vectored in on the object, chasing it for 120 miles. Both the UFO and the jet showed plainly on the ground controller's intercept radar screens. Each time the jet began to close in, the UFO would move ahead with a burst of speed. When the pilot gave up and turned back to base, the UFO turned and followed his craft. A second F-84 was scrambled and chased the UFO for a further 160 miles, obtaining a radar lock-on. The UFO again stayed just out of reach when the pilot switched on his radar ranging gun sights, and the red light blinked on, showing something real and solid was ahead of him. The pilot was scared. NICAP reporters note, when I talked to him, the pilot, he readily admitted that he'd been scared. He asked the controller if he could break off the intercept. This time the UFO continued on course to the north. The Ground Observer Corps on the path ahead was notified, and reported seeing a light speeding north. At the height of the sighting, when the pilot became frightened, ground radar showed the jet and the unidentified flying object. The pilot's gun sight radar also showed the UFO, and the pilot could also see with his own eyes a speeding unidentified light in front of him. A NICAP member later queried the Air Force about the case, and received a written reply on September 17, 1958, stating, photos of the radar scope and gun camera photos were made but were not sufficiently clear enough for evaluation. The Ellsworth Air Force Base UFO case is still listed as unknown or unsolved. NICAP note, the fact that the gun camera photos showed an image at all is further proof that something real and solid was outspeeding jet interceptors. In conjunction with the multiple radar and multiple visual observations, an image on the film is close to complete proof of the reality of UFOs. Section 2 Intelligent Control continued. Captain W.J. Hull, and veteran Capital Airlines pilot, was a UFO skeptic. He had previously written an article entitled The Obituary of the Flying Saucers, this for the Airline Pilot magazine, at 10:10 p.m., November 14, 1956. Captain Hull was a pilot of Capital Flight number 77, approaching Mobile, Alabama. En route from New York City, suddenly he and his co-pilot, Peter McIntosh, noticed a bright light through the upper part of the windshield. The foreplane was on a southwesterly course, and the object, looking like a meteor, was falling across their path from left to right. But instead of burning out, that meteor halted abruptly directly in front of the plane. What the hell is it, a jet? McIntosh shouted, as the UFO remained a constant distance in front of the plane. Captain Hull grabbed his microphone and called Mobile Tower. Bates Tower, this is Capital 77, look out toward the north and east and see if you can spot a strange white light hovering in the sky. Mobile quickly answered that a thick cloud layer was obscuring vision, and asked Captain Hull if he thought the object was in the vicinity of Mobile. Affirmative. Hull replied, it is directly ahead of us and at about our altitude or slightly higher. We are right over Jackson and have descended to 10,000 feet. Immediately after the radio exchange, the UFO began to move. It darted back and forth, rising and falling, making extremely sharp turns, sometimes changing course 90 degrees in an instant. The color and size remained constant. McIntosh and I sat there completely flabbergasted at this unnerving exhibition, Captain Hull reported. After 30 seconds or more, the UFO ceased its violent maneuvers and again appeared to hover ahead of the plane. About this time Mobile Tower called back, Capital 77, we are trying to raise the Brooklyn Air Force Base Tower. At this moment, the UFO began another series of crazy gyrations, lazy 8-cent square chandelles, and then shot out over the Gulf of Mexico, rising at a steep angle. It diminished rapidly to a pinpoint and disappeared in the night. Elapsed time, at least 2 minutes. The one thing which I can't get over, Captain Hull stated in his report, is the fact that when it approached, it approached steeply downward. And when it departed after its amazing show, it went steeply upward. Section 2 Intelligent Control continued. December the 19th and 20th of 1958 was a cloudless night in Dunellen, New Jersey. At 12:55 a.m., Patrolman Leroy Borin and Beat Alada were on night patrol, cruising west on Center Street. From an area elevated about 15 to 20 feet, they had an unobstructed view to north, south, and west. In a signed report to NICAP, Patrolman Borin, ex-Navy man and graduate of the New Jersey State Police Academy, described the experience. This object came at us from the west. At first it looked like a red-hot piece of coal about the size of a quarter held at arm's length. In a matter of seconds it was as large as a ruler held at arm's length. That is when it came to a complete stop. The shape of the object was distinct. See illustration. The body of the object was solid bright red and it gave off a pulsating red glow completely around the object. The object hovered a few seconds. Then it made a left turn and again hovered for a few seconds. Then it went straight up like a shot. We watched it until it completely faded beyond the stars. In this matter-of-fact manner, the two officers described an occurrence which is totally inexplicable. Meteors do not hover or shoot upward. No known aircraft is elliptical and glows bright red in flight, not to mention the observed performance. Nor does any known phenomenon descend through the atmosphere like a meteor, then circle around, as engineer Donald Carr observed, nor does the gyrating light observed by Captain Hull, descending, pacing the airliner, then ascending, have any natural explanation. Approved for release Central Intelligence Agency 4th of February 2001.